My name is Maddie Reeves, and I'm 27. I used to think the kind of betrayal that ends a relationship had to arrive with fireworks, screaming, crying, a plate shattering in a kitchen you paid for together. I was wrong. Sometimes betrayal comes dressed like a joke. Sometimes it comes with lime on the rim of a glass. Sometimes it comes from the person sitting closest to you, laughing just a little too hard, like you're not a human being, just a story he can tell for points. Last Friday night, I was out having drinks with my boyfriend, Caleb Monroe, and two of his friends from his circle, Dylan and Miles, plus Dylan's girlfriend, Erin. We'd been together 14 months. 14 months of weekends blended into each other. 14 months of me learning Caleb's moods like weather patterns, when he'd be charming, when he'd get quiet, when he'd start performing for a room like the room owed him applause. And I thought we were solid. Not perfect, but solid. The bar was warm and loud, the kind with moody lighting and fake plants trying to look expensive. Music thumped behind the conversations like a heartbeat. Caleb had his arms slung over the back of my chair like I belonged there, like I belonged to him. I remember thinking, absurdly, that I liked this version of us. The normal couple version. The version where we looked good from a distance. Caleb was on his third drink, some neon cocktail that tasted like candy but hit like regret. His laugh had gotten louder, looser, like it was trying to outrun his own judgment. Then Erin made a joke about some viral trend, something about people ranking dates, rating first impressions, giving strangers numbers like it was harmless entertainment. Dylan snorted into his beer. Yeah, people are ruthless online. And Caleb leaned forward, eyes bright and careless, like he'd been waiting for this opening all night. Oh my God, he said, laughing, like how I've been rating Maddie a 3 out of 10 in our group chat for months. The sound didn't stop immediately. It wasn't like the music cut out, but the table went quiet in that way where you can feel everyone's brains scrambling to decide what the correct reaction should be. Erin's smile froze like it had been painted on, and the paint was drying mid-expression. Miles stared down into his drink like it might swallow him whole. Dylan's eyebrows shot up, then he snapped his gaze away from me, like eye contact would make him guilty by association. And Caleb kept laughing. Not because it was funny, because he thought he'd gotten away with saying it. I looked at him for a long second, taking in the easy way the words left his mouth. The comfort. The confidence. Like my humiliation was a party trick. I took a slow sip of my drink, something I didn't even taste anymore, and said very calmly, "Thanks for telling me." Caleb's face shifted. That drunk, proud grin slid into something else within 2 seconds, like he sobered up just enough to recognize danger. "Babe," he said quickly, "I was joking." I tilted my head. "Which part?" He blinked. "What?" "The rating," I said, voice still even. "Or the months?" Dylan made a small noise, half cough, half regret. Erin's eyes went wide, and she stared at Caleb like she'd just seen a stranger wearing his skin. Caleb put his hands up, palms out, like he was trying to physically block consequences. It's just guy talk. We all do it. It's not that deep." "Not that deep," I repeated, like I was tasting the words, like I was deciding if they were poison or just stupidity. Miles whispered something under his breath that sounded like, "Dude." And that's when I noticed Dylan's phone under the table. His thumb was moving fast. Texting, warning someone, or maybe just documenting the moment so he could tell it later like it happened to somebody else. I set my glass down, not dramatically. No shaking hands, no tears. Just a clean, careful movement. "Cool," I said. "I'm going to head out." Caleb scoffed, relieved too soon. "Maddie, don't be dramatic. It doesn't mean anything." "It meant enough to keep doing it for months," I said. I reached into my bag, pulled out cash, and set it on the table, enough to cover my drink and then some, because I didn't want a single part of my exit tied to him. I didn't want him to be able to say I stormed out and left him with the bill like I was some irresponsible girl proving his point. Then I stood up and walked away. Behind me, chairs scraped. Caleb followed, his steps faster than mine, his voice already shifting into that tone he used when he wanted to sound reasonable in public. Outside, the night air was colder. The city smelled like car exhaust and perfume and sidewalks still warm from the day. Caleb caught my arm, not hard, but possessive, like a reminder. "You're seriously mad about this?" he said. "It's just a stupid game." I pulled my arm back and looked him in the eye. "You've been mocking me to your friends for months," I said. "That's not a game. That's cruelty with a scoreboard." "I wasn't mocking you," he insisted. "The rating system is about boyfriend potential, or, like, partner potential. It's not personal." My mouth twitched, not quite a smile, more like disbelief trying to crawl out of me. "We've been together over a year," I said. "So what? Was I a 3 when you asked me to be your girlfriend? Or did I drop to a 3 after you got comfortable? Caleb's eyes darted away for half a second, and that half second told me everything. What is my rating based on? I asked. He exhaled like I was annoying him by requiring honesty. It's stupid. Tell me, I said. He hesitated, then sighed like he was doing me a favor. Income, looks, bedroom stuff, social status, future potential. Each category landed like a slap dressed up as a spreadsheet. And I'm a 3, I said softly. Caleb shrugged. The scale is harsh. Like, even celebrities wouldn't get 10s. I let out a breath that almost turned into a laugh, but didn't. So I'm less than half a celebrity, I said. Amazing. Very romantic. You're twisting it, he snapped. I reached for my phone. Not because I wanted to record him. Not because I wanted to call anyone. Because in that moment, something in me went perfectly, surgically still. I opened Instagram and started typing. Caleb's face changed instantly. What are you doing? Breaking up with you, I said without looking up. His laugh was sharp, disbelieving. Over Instagram? Maddie, you can't. I kept typing. The post was simple, clean, and lethal. Single again. Apparently, I've been a 310 for months in my boyfriend's group chat. For anyone wondering, being single is a 10-10. I tagged him. Then I hit post. Caleb's phone buzzed almost immediately. Then buzzed again. And again. His eyes widened as he looked down, watching consequences flood in faster than he could talk his way out of them. You're such a... he started, voice rising. A 3? I offered, finally letting myself smile. Small, sharp. His mouth opened, then closed, like he couldn't decide which insult would save his pride. I stepped back. Have a good night, Caleb. And I walked away. I didn't run. I didn't look back. Because the second I did, I knew I'd see the version of him I'd been ignoring for 14 months. Angry that I stopped being quiet. By the time I got home, my phone was already buzzing like a hornet's nest. And I hadn't even seen the worst of what they'd been saying about me yet. By the time I fell asleep, my phone had turned into a little glowing door that wouldn't stop rattling on its hinges. I tried to be strong about it at first. Toss it on the nightstand face down like I was above all this, like I could outgrow the sting by refusing to look. But silence doesn't heal you when you know people are talking about you in rooms you're not in. So, at 6:12 a.m., I rolled over, grabbed my phone, and watched the screen light up with the kind of number that makes your stomach drop before your brain can translate it. 241 notifications. And for a split second, I had the ridiculous thought that maybe Caleb had died. Because what else creates that kind of noise overnight? Then the reality landed, hard and humiliating and sharp. No one died. My relationship did. And apparently it died in front of an audience. I sat up, hair tangled, throat dry, and started scrolling. Caleb had sent 48 messages since I left the bar. They came in waves, like the different versions of him had taken turns holding the phone. 12:03 a.m. Maddie, please answer. 12:05 a.m. You're being insane. 12:06 a.m. It was a joke. You're embarrassing me. 12:11 a.m. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. 12:18 a.m. You just ruined my life for no reason. 12:32 a.m. Can we talk, please? 1:04 a.m. You're pathetic. 1:17 a.m. I love you. Why are you doing this? 2:26 a.m. If you don't take that down, we're done. That one made me pause. My thumb hovered over the screen, and I felt something cold spread through my chest. If you don't take that down, we're done. As if he still had the authority to break up with me. As if he didn't realize he'd already been fired from the role of my boyfriend the moment he laughed at my humiliation like it was entertainment. I didn't respond. I didn't even block him yet. Blocking felt too clean, too final, and I wasn't ready to feel the emptiness that would come after. Instead, I went to my DMs. That's where it got interesting. Because Caleb wasn't the only one messaging me. Dylan, Maddie, I'm sorry. I told him it was messed up to say that out loud. He shouldn't have. Aaron, I'm genuinely so sorry. I didn't know he'd been doing that. I swear I didn't participate. Miles, this is probably not my place, but you didn't deserve that at all. And then one message that made my throat close. A name I didn't expect. Noah. Hey, it's Noah. I'm one of the guys in the group chat. I wasn't there last night. Dylan told me what happened. I'm sorry. And Maddie, you should know it wasn't just a joke. I stared at it, heart thudding. I didn't even remember meeting Noah more than once. Some barbecue months ago where he'd been quiet, polite, like he was trying not to take up space. The kind of person who watches everyone else be loud and decides it's safer to be invisible. My fingers shook as I typed. What do you mean it wasn't a joke? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Then his reply landed like a brick through a window. I shouldn't do this, but I can't pretend I didn't see it. Caleb has been saying things about you for a long time. He screenshotted stuff, a lot of stuff. The word screenshotted made my skin crawl. Because there are things you say to a partner that only make sense in the soft, private space between 2 people. There are messages that aren't meant to survive daylight. I stared at my chat thread with Caleb, our jokes, our I miss you, our boring little domestic texts like, do we need more coffee? And don't forget your hoodie. Then I imagined those words being dragged into a group chat like pray. My chest tightened. Send me what you have, I typed. He didn't respond right away. And in that silence, my mind started filling the gaps with worst-case versions of myself. Me crying on a bathroom floor, me admitting fears, me saying things I'd never want strangers to pick apart. Finally, Noah sent a single message. Okay, but please, be ready. It's bad. The next thing that came through wasn't text. It was screenshots. A lot of them. My phone lagged for a second, like even it needed a moment to brace. Then the images loaded one by one, and I started scrolling. It wasn't just Maddie is a 310. It was documentation. Like Caleb had been writing a report on me for an invisible panel of judges. I saw my name at the top of the chat thread. Calibration, Maddie R. And beneath it, messages from Caleb and a couple of the guys. The first screenshot made me swallow hard. Caleb. Maddie's sweet, but she's never going to level up financially. Her job is stable, but it's basic, like no ambition energy. Dylan. At least she's nice, though. Caleb. Nice doesn't pay for a house. I stared at the words until they blurred. I'm a physical therapist. I help people learn how to walk again. I've worked with a teenager after a car accident who cried because he could finally climb stairs without pain. I've held an older man's hand while he admitted he was scared he'd never hug his granddaughter standing up again. But in Caleb's world, none of that mattered because it didn't come with the right kind of bragging rights. I kept scrolling. Another screenshot. Caleb. Sex is vanilla. I tried to push her into more adventurous stuff, but she's too polite, too respectful, like she's afraid of being bad. Miles. Have you talked to her about it? Caleb. Nah, that's awkward. Also, she should just know. I felt heat rush into my face, not because I was ashamed of my intimacy, but because I had never been given a chance to be anything else. He didn't communicate. He performed dissatisfaction to his friends like it was comedy, like my body was a product review. Another screenshot. Caleb. She wears the same 5 outfits. Like, I'm not saying she has to be a fashion girl, but it's embarrassing when we go out and she looks like she's running errands. Dylan. Bro, she always looks fine. Caleb. Fine is a 310. My throat tightened. I work long days. I come home with sore hands and a tired spine and the kind of exhaustion that makes mascara feel like a personal attack. But I always showed up clean. Put together enough. Real. And he had been measuring me like a mannequin. I kept scrolling, and the further I went, the worse it got. Caleb. Her friends are weird. Game nights, board games, that's social suicide. Noah. Honestly, game nights are kind of fun. Caleb. Yeah, if you're 12. My friends are engineers, teachers, nurses. They laugh. They show up. They care. They don't treat people like scorecards. Then I saw a screenshot that made my stomach turn so hard I had to put the phone down for a second. Because it wasn't about my clothes, or my job, or sex. It was about something I hadn't even told most people. A private conversation between Caleb and me, months ago, after my mom called crying because my dad had found a lump, and we didn't know what it was yet. I remembered that night perfectly. I remembered the way my hands shook when I typed. I'm trying not to panic. I remembered Caleb saying, I'm here, talk to me. And I remembered believing him. Now I was staring at that message, my vulnerability, preserved like a specimen. And beneath it, in the group chat, Caleb had written, Caleb, daddy health crisis equal classic attachment issues. Explains a lot. Dylan, dude, that's not cool. Caleb, relax. I'm just saying, she's got baggage. I felt physically sick, not metaphorically. My stomach rolled, and I had to stand up and walk to the bathroom like my body was trying to reject something poisonous. I gripped the sink, stared at my reflection, and watched my face change, like the girl I'd been before last night was dissolving into someone sharper, someone less forgiving. When I went back to my bed, I kept scrolling, because once you open a wound, curiosity becomes a kind of compulsion. And then I saw it. A different name. Not mine. A woman's name. Tessa W. Caleb's work friend. The one he always described as just a friend. The one whose Instagram stories he somehow always saw within minutes. The one he said I was crazy for feeling weird about. I zoomed in on the screenshot. Caleb, Tessa is a 9. Easy. She's got presence. And she actually gets my humor. Miles, isn't she dating someone? Caleb, yeah, but I'm just saying, if she was single, I'd be in trouble. The room went quiet around me in a different way. Because this wasn't just cruelty. This wasn't just immaturity. This was a boyfriend publicly ranking his girlfriend as a 3, while privately rating another woman as a 9 and confessing he'd be in trouble if she was available. I stared at my own name again. Maddie, 310. Tessa, 9 to 10. And something inside me clicked into place with a clean, brutal sound. It wasn't that I wasn't enough for him. It was that he enjoyed making me feel like I wasn't. He needed me lower so he could feel higher. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Noah. I'm sorry, I didn't want you to find out like this. I stared at his apology and realized he wasn't apologizing for sending them. He was apologizing because he'd been watching it happen. Because he'd been part of the audience. And now, finally, he couldn't unsee how wrong it was. I typed back with fingers that felt too steady for the size of my heartbreak. Thank you. You did the right thing. Then I opened Instagram. I didn't want to. A part of me wanted to crawl into denial, to pretend these screenshots didn't exist, to pretend love was still what I thought it was a week ago. But another part of me, something newly born and dangerously calm, understood one thing. Caleb had been comfortable humiliating me because he thought I'd never see it. He thought I'd stay. He thought embarrassment would make me smaller. And he was about to learn what happens when a woman stops trying to be palatable. I pulled up the screenshots again. I chose the ones that mattered most. Not the petty stuff about outfits, not even the vanilla line. I chose the ones that showed the real rot, the basic job comment, the nice doesn't pay for a house line, the message about my dad, the attachment issues insult, and the part about Tessa being a 9. I cropped carefully. No phone numbers, no accidental private info, just enough context to make it undeniable. Then I posted them to my story with a caption that felt like a verdict. For anyone wondering why it ended, this is who he really is. My hands didn't shake. My heart did. My phone started buzzing within minutes. Reactions, DMs, shares. And somewhere out there, I knew Caleb was seeing his own words reflected back at him like a mirror he couldn't break. But what I didn't know yet, what I couldn't possibly know, was that Caleb wasn't the only person about to lose everything. Because Tessa's boyfriend, he followed Caleb, and the internet loves a trail. By noon, the story had stopped being mine. That was the strangest part. I'd woken up thinking this was a private collapse. My relationship, my humiliation, my pain. Something I'd carry quietly while the world went on, pretending nothing had changed. But once you put truth on the internet, it doesn't stay loyal to its original owner. It mutates. It spreads. It finds people you didn't even know were watching. My phone buzzed nonstop on the kitchen counter while I stood there in yesterday's sweatshirt, staring at a mug of coffee that had gone cold without me taking a single sip. Notifications blurred together, Instagram reactions, message requests, tags I hadn't asked for. Then one name appeared that made my stomach drop. Evan Klein. I knew exactly who Evan was. Because Evan was Tessa's boyfriend. Or, based on the tone of his message, maybe former boyfriend. His DM was short. Too controlled for someone whose life had just tilted. Hi, we don't know each other, but I think we need to talk. I didn't answer right away. I set the phone down like it was something that could bite me if I moved too fast. Because somewhere in my chest, a quiet voice whispered, "This is about to get bigger." When I finally opened the message thread, Evan had already sent another. I saw your story. I've been dating Tessa for 2 years. If you're willing, I'd like to know how long this has been going on. 2 years. I closed my eyes. Caleb hadn't just crossed a line. He'd been sprinting past them for months, smiling while he did it. I typed back carefully. I'm so sorry. I only know what was in the screenshots. I can send them if you want. The reply came almost instantly. Please. So I sent them. All of them. And as I watched the little delivered checkmark appear, I felt a strange mix of dread and relief. Because if I'd learned anything in the last 12 hours, it was this. The truth doesn't ask permission before detonating. By mid-afternoon, everything started collapsing at once. Evan didn't message again for hours, but when he finally did, the tone had changed completely. We're done, he wrote. I confronted her. She didn't deny anything. I sat down hard on the edge of my bed. The room felt too quiet for what had just happened. She said it was just lunches, Evan continued. That Caleb misrepresented things. Then she admitted they'd been flirting. Then she got angry at me for violating her privacy by looking at your screenshots. I exhaled slowly. The script was familiar. Deflection, minimization, outrage at being exposed instead of remorse for the behavior itself. Thank you, Evan wrote. I know you didn't do this to hurt anyone, but I deserve to know. I stared at the message, my chest tight, because even now, after everything, part of me still felt guilty, as if holding a mirror up to someone's actions made me responsible for what they saw. But guilt is a funny thing. It shows up strongest when you've been trained to make yourself smaller for other people's comfort. Caleb, meanwhile, had gone silent, which was almost more unsettling than the barrage of messages from the night before. No apologies, no rage, no dramatic declarations of love. Just nothing until 3:47 p.m. My phone buzzed, and his name appeared like a ghost I hadn't invited. You had no right. That was it. 4 words. No greeting. No acknowledgement of what he'd done. Just outrage. I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because the consequences were already responding for me. Someone had reposted my screenshots on TikTok. I didn't even know who at first. Just some account with a neutral username and a caption that read, "When your boyfriend rates you a 310 behind your back and forgets screenshots exist." By the time I saw it, the video already had 600,000 views. The comments were brutal. Imagine being this confident while acting this small. Men who rank women like spreadsheets deserve to be single forever. He called her job basic? Sir, what do you do? I scrolled until my thumb hurt. People weren't just mad on my behalf. They were mad because they recognized the pattern. The way someone builds themselves up by quietly cutting down the person who trusts them most. And then the internet did what it does best. It dug. Someone found Caleb's professional Instagram, the one he used for networking, the one where he posted motivational quotes about leadership and integrity. People from his industry followed it. People he worked with. People who mattered. The comments started appearing before the hour was up. This is disappointing. Explains a lot, honestly. Wow. Not the values I expected. Then his account went private. Then it disappeared entirely. The group chat imploded next. I didn't see it firsthand, but Noah kept me updated, apologizing more than once like he was trying to scrub his conscience clean. It's chaos, he wrote. People are screenshotting everything, calling each other out. Dylan's girlfriend found messages where Caleb rated her. I felt a strange, hollow laugh bubble up in my chest. Of course he did. Apparently, Noah continued, this rating thing has been going on for almost 2 years. Not just girlfriends, women they talk to, exes, random people, even each other's partners. I closed my eyes. 2 years. This wasn't a joke that went too far. It was a system. And systems don't exist without intent. Caleb rated Dylan's ex a 9, Noah wrote. Said Dylan fumbled hard. Dylan found out. He lost it. I imagined the scene without trying to. Men who thought they were in control, suddenly realizing they'd all been measured and found wanting by the same ruler. Miles left the chat, Noah added. Said it was toxic and he should have spoken up sooner. That one, I believed. And somehow that made it worse. Because silence isn't neutral. It's permission. That evening my phone rang. An actual call, not a DM, not a text. A real old-fashioned phone call. I almost didn't answer. But something told me this one mattered. Hello? Maddie? A woman's voice said, gentle and tight with nerves. This is Lena Monroe, Caleb's sister. I sat down again, my heart pounding. I'm so sorry to call you like this, she said quickly. I wanted you to know I saw everything. I didn't say anything. I didn't know what to say. We're mortified, Lena continued. My parents, I mean. This isn't new behavior, Maddie. He did something similar with his college girlfriend. Different details. Same cruelty. My chest tightened. So he'd learned nothing. Or worse, he'd learned that he could get away with it. I just wanted you to hear this from someone in his family, she said softly. None of this is your fault. I swallowed. Thank you. There was a pause. Then Lena added quietly, You were the only girlfriend of his we actually liked. That one landed harder than I expected. After we hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. My apartment felt different now. Not emptier. Just clearer. Like something heavy had finally been removed, even if it left marks on the floor. My phone buzzed again. Another TikTok. Another repost. Another 1,000,000 views. Caleb Monroe was trending, for all the wrong reasons. And while the internet was sharpening its knives, I realized something unsettling and freeing at the same time. This wasn't revenge. This was exposure. And exposure doesn't ask whether you're ready. It just pulls the curtain back. By the third day, the noise became a kind of background radiation. Not gone, just constant. The TikTok video crossed 2 million views sometime overnight. Someone stitched it with commentary about ranking human beings like products, and that one took off too. There were reaction videos now, think pieces, people arguing in comment sections about privacy, accountability, gender, power. My face wasn't even in most of them anymore, just Caleb's words, floating around without me attached. Which felt strange, like I'd been hit by a truck, and now everyone was debating the physics of the impact while I was still checking for broken bones. I hadn't heard from Caleb since the "you had no right" message, until he showed up. I was folding laundry, something mundane on purpose, something grounding, when the knock came. Not loud, not frantic, controlled. I knew it was him before I even checked the door. My body recognized the cadence of his presence like muscle memory. When I opened it, he looked wrong. Not dangerous, not dramatic. Just stripped. His hair was unstyled, his hoodie wrinkled. Dark circles lived permanently under his eyes now, like consequences had decided to move in. "Can we talk?" he asked. There it was. The sentence men use when they want access without accountability. "There's nothing to talk about," I said. "Maddie, please." His voice cracked, just slightly. "I got fired." I felt a flicker of something, not satisfaction, not pity. Confirmation. "That's not my problem," I said calmly. "It is," he snapped. Because of what you posted." I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Not defensively, just finished. "You got fired because you publicly documented degrading your girlfriend and sharing private information," I said. "I didn't create that. You did." He ran a hand through his hair, pacing like the hallway might offer answers. "My boss said I showed poor judgment, that I created a hostile environment." "You did." "They're acting like I'm a monster," he said, voice rising. "I made a few jokes in a private chat." "For months," I said. He turned on me then, eyes sharp. "Everyone vents with their friends." "For 14 months?" I asked quietly. "That's not venting, Caleb. That's a personality." He opened his mouth, then shut it. Change tactics. "I'm sorry," he said, stepping closer. "Okay, I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you like this." I watched him carefully. Because apologies are fascinating when you stop listening to the words and start watching the timing. "You're not sorry you did it," I said. "You're sorry it didn't stay private." "That's not true," he insisted. "I loved you." I nodded once. "You loved having me." He flinched. "I lost everything," he said, voice breaking. "Tessa won't talk to me. My friends hate me. My parents won't even look at me." I didn't move. I didn't reach out. I didn't comfort him. Because comfort is something you offer someone who's hurting, despite trying to do the right thing, not someone grieving the loss of control. "My therapist says I need to take accountability," he added bitterly. "That's the first smart thing you've said." His face hardened. "Is this what you wanted?" he demanded. "To ruin me?" I met his gaze evenly. I wanted the truth to stop living in secrets. He laughed then, sharp, mean. "You really think you're some hero now?" "No," I said. "I think I'm done." That's when the mask slipped completely. The part of him that had always been there but hidden behind charm and humor and plausible deniability finally stepped forward. "You know what?" he said. "Fine. You want honesty?" I didn't answer. He leaned in, eyes cold now. "You are a 3, he said. "You're boring. Your job is mediocre. You dress like a mom. Your idea of fun is board games and early nights. And yeah, the sex was forgettable." Each word was deliberate, chosen, like he wanted to hurt me on his way out. "I settled for you," he continued, "because I thought you'd be grateful, because I thought you knew I was out of your league." There it was, the core, the rotten center. I felt something inside me settle, not break. Clarity does that. "Thank you," I said. He blinked. "For what?" "For finally telling the truth," I said. "Now I don't have to wonder who you really are." "I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did," I interrupted. "And that's okay, because I'd rather be a so-called 3 with integrity than whatever this is." I stepped back and opened the door wider. "Leave." He stared at me, stunned. "Maddie." "Leave," I said again, "and don't come back." He hesitated, then threw one last line over his shoulder like a curse. "You'll never find someone as good as me." I laughed. Actually laughed. The sound surprised both of us. "Caleb," I said, still smiling, "I've already had 3 dates this week." His face fell. "Turns out," I added gently, "a lot of people appreciate someone stable, kind, and honest. Funny how that works." He left without another word. And when the door closed, something in my apartment, something in me, finally exhaled. I slid down against the door and sat there for a long time. Not crying, just breathing, because heartbreak hurts. But knowing the truth, that's survivable. The quiet that followed surprised me. Not the empty kind, the kind that echoes and reminds you of everything you lost, but a deeper, steadier quiet, like the sound a room makes after something heavy has been carried out of it. I stayed on the floor for a while after Caleb left, my back against the door, my palms flat on the wood like I was grounding myself in something solid. My heart was still racing, but it wasn't panic anymore. It was release. I stood up eventually, washed my face, and changed into clean clothes. Small acts, normal ones. Proof that life hadn't ended just because someone who never truly saw me had walked out. That night, I didn't open TikTok. I didn't read the comments. I didn't check how many followers I'd gained or lost. I ordered takeout from the Thai place down the street, the one Caleb always complained was too oily, and ate on the couch with my phone face down. For the first time in days, I slept without dreaming. The universe apparently was not done. 2 mornings later, my phone rang again. Another unfamiliar number. I almost ignored it. Almost. Hello? Maddie. The voice was warm, older, careful. This is Mrs. Monroe, Caleb's mom. My chest tightened, not with fear, but with something softer, something sadder. Yes, I said quietly. Oh, honey, she breathed. I'm so sorry. I closed my eyes. I saw the messages, she continued, all of them. The ones about you, about your father. I don't even recognize the boy who wrote them. It's not your fault, I said automatically. I know, she replied, but I still need to say it. We didn't raise him to treat people like that. There was a pause. I could hear her swallowing emotion. How is your dad? She asked gently. The question caught me off guard. He's better, I said. He's in remission. Oh, thank God, she whispered. Please tell him we're praying for him, every day. Tears pricked at my eyes, not because I was overwhelmed, but because kindness still existed in places I'd assumed were contaminated by association. And Maddie, she added, lowering her voice like this was a secret she wasn't supposed to share, you were the only girlfriend of his we ever truly liked. I smiled sadly. Thank you. My husband says you're a 10 out of 10 human being, she said. Son-in-law material. That one broke me just a little. After we hung up, I cried. Not from pain, but from something that felt suspiciously like validation arriving late, but still welcome. The internet moved on the way it always does. A new scandal replaced mine, another villain, another clip. But the aftershocks lingered. Caleb deleted everything. Socials, professional profiles, even his old blog posts. He moved back in with his parents. According to Lena, he'd applied to 3 jobs and been rejected by all of them once they Googled his name. The group chat never recovered. Dylan and Aaron broke up. Miles stayed gone. Noah sent one last message saying the whole thing made him reevaluate the kind of man he wanted to be. I hoped that was true. As for me, life expanded. Not dramatically, not all at once, but in quiet, steady ways. I went on a coffee date with Evan, the ex-boyfriend of the 910. It was awkward at first, then unexpectedly easy. No sparks flying, just 2 people who'd survived the same fire, sitting across from each other like equals. We didn't force anything. We didn't need to. My friends threw me a party the following weekend. A joke of a theme they insisted on calling the Magnificent 310 Night. Everyone dressed terribly on purpose. We played board games. We laughed until midnight. Someone brought a cake shaped like a broken scale. I made a wish anyway. At work, my supervisor called me into her office. I braced myself. Old instincts die hard. But she smiled instead. We'd like to promote you, she said. You've been doing exceptional work. I walked out of that office with my head high, my job suddenly feeling anything but basic. Weeks later, a dating app emailed me asking if they could use my story in an ad campaign about authentic connections. I said no. Some things don't need to be monetized to be meaningful. The last message from Caleb came a month after everything blew up. An email, long, careful, polished by therapy language and regret. He talked about insecurity, about needing control, about using the rating system to feel superior because he was afraid of being vulnerable. I believe parts of it, maybe even most of it, I replied once. I'm glad you're getting help. I genuinely hope you become a better person. Please don't contact me again. He respected that, and that, strangely, felt like the closest thing to accountability he'd ever offered. I'm the same person I was before all of this. Same job, same friends, same clothes hanging in my closet. But now I know something I didn't before. My worth isn't determined by someone else's private scoreboard. I am not a number. I am not a rating. I am not a consolation prize. I am a whole person, capable of love, integrity, and walking away from anyone who sees kindness as weakness. And if anyone ever tells me I'm a 3 out of 10 again, I'll smile, because I know exactly how magnificent that number can be. There's one last thing people always ask me. They message me months later, after the clips stop circulating, after the comments quiet down, after the algorithm moves on to the next spectacle. They ask, "Do you regret posting it?" I always pause before answering, because regret is a tricky word. It assumes there was another version of the story where silence would have been kinder, where swallowing the truth would have somehow made me safer. But here's what I've learned. Silence doesn't protect you. It protects the person benefiting from it. If I hadn't posted those screenshots, Caleb would still be the charming guy with strong opinions, the one people trusted, the one who smiled while quietly tearing down the person who loved him. And I'd still be wondering why I felt so small in a relationship that looked so good from the outside. A few months after everything, I ran into Lena, Caleb's sister, at a coffee shop. She hugged me first. No awkwardness, no guilt, just warmth. "He's still in therapy," she told me. "Still, unraveling." I nodded. "I hope it helps." She studied me for a moment, then smiled. "You look lighter." I felt it too. Not happier every day, not healed in some dramatic, cinematic way. Just lighter, like I wasn't carrying someone else's insecurity anymore. I never became famous the way the internet likes to make people famous. My follower count leveled off. The jokes faded, the memes stopped. And I was grateful for that, because the best part of this story was never the viral moment. It was the quiet rebuild. It was the way I stopped second-guessing my laughter. The way I stopped apologizing for my job, my hobbies, my softness. The way I stopped mistaking being chosen for being valued. I still wear the same clothes. I still love board games and early nights and conversations that mean something. And now, I date people who don't rank human beings. People who don't confuse intimacy with leverage. People who don't need me smaller to feel big. Every once in a while, someone will jokingly call me a 310 queen. I let them, because I know what that number survived. It survived humiliation. It survived exposure. It survived walking away without begging. And if that's what a 3 looks like, I can live with that. To anyone reading this who's ever felt quietly diminished by someone who claimed to love you, someone who joked at your expense, shared your vulnerabilities, or treated your worth like a debate, you don't need a viral moment to leave. You don't need proof everyone else can see. If something feels cruel, it probably is. And if someone makes you feel lucky to be tolerated instead of cherished, that's not love. That's a rating system. And you don't belong on anyone's scale.